Hello, everyone, and welcome to We Watch TV, the podcast about TV. We watch. Why are you giggling already? Oh my
I forgot
gosh.
to get a drink.
The
Are you
pod.
gonna keep going?
I'm going to keep going. Yeah, this
God.
is We Watch TV, the podcast about TV that we watch. I am Daniel. She is Hope.
Hey.
Should I have my third helping of tater tots?
You had 2 helpings?
Yeah,
I
they
don't
really
know.
they were really good.
They were really good.
They were really good tonight. Yeah.
You could use, what is it, like mukbang? Is that what it is?
Mukbang,
Mukbang.
where I eat on.
Ugh,
I
hate
really
that.
don't think I'm going to do that.
I like ASMR, but not that. Not the food
Let me
chewing
know, I-
sounds. Oh, stop.
Everybody, just shout out to me, everybody, if you want me to do start my own podcast that's just me eating food and talking about Star Trek. I promise. If I get 5 people to tell me they want that, I'll make it
I
happen.
coughed again. Are you going to delete that out?
Sure,
They're
or not.
editing.
We'll see. I did last time.
Oh.
Yeah, I'm magic. But you keep talking about it anyways.
They call me Magic Man.
Hey, so we got a good episode for you guys today. But before we get started into what we've been watching, we wanted to address some serious stuff. The writer stuff's been going on for a while, but since we last talked to you guys, not only are the writers have been on strike for almost 3 months, but the actors are now on strike as well.
I think the writers have been on strike for, 2 months?
It's over 2 months at this point.
Yeah, and then I think on Thursday, that was when the Screen Actors Guild and SAG.
Yeah, like the actors that
And
were,
then the
that
other
were in
one-
Oppenheimer
Yeah.
literally stood up and walked
yeah.
out of the premiere for Oppenheimer in the UK.
Yeah, as soon as it was announced, they were like, oh, bye. But definitely on our position with that is pay the writers.
And pay the actors,
Pay
honestly.
the actors. I think what a lot of people are getting so confused, I've seen some people say this on my Facebook feed, that they just assume that anybody that works in Hollywood or the industry is like a millionaire. And that is so far from the truth. There's a lot of podcasts that I love the Rewatch podcast. I know I listen to the Drama Queens podcast, and their episode came out today. And right now they talked pretty much about everything but the actual show, because they're kind of waiting to see how Rewatch podcasts fall into this trend, because technically their show is still airing because it's on streaming. But they were talking about when the show started in 2003, when they inked their deals for residuals and all of that. No one knew streaming was going to even be a thing.
Yeah.
So why would that be included in their contracts? So I think that's stuff that needs to be addressed. But then if you're unless you're a Drew Barrymore type person and a show's being built around you, you're not making as much money as I think what people think. And then especially the writers, there's some of them that don't even make enough money to get health insurance. Let that sink in. And I don't think I think people think Hollywood and they just think rich people everywhere.
Yeah. Well, the one that sticks out to me was the actress that was on Orange and the New Black.
Yeah,
she
she was living on food stamps or something.
Well, she shared her residuals stub on Twitter, I believe it was. And it showed she was in 40 episodes of that show. That is that's not a non-trivial amount of episodes.
And Orange is the New Black for a while was Netflix's
huge.
biggest show.
27-cent
At least
residual
their top
check
shows.
is what she got.
That's crazy.
Now, I don't know if that's it doesn't matter if it's monthly.
Yeah.
If it's monthly or
What I'm
whatever it
saying,
is.
though,
That could be daily and it wouldn't matter.
Some of these people, this specifically goes more towards the writers, is that, like I said, they don't even make enough to be able to afford health insurance. Not everybody is a Tom Cruise, a Matt Damon, and I think some of those higher actors that are supporting this, they understand that. And then what Sophia Bush, she played Brooke on One Tree Hill, was talking about, that even if you're doing your job as an actress and you do have a team of people around you, you're responsible for not only putting the food on your table, but it trickles down.
Yep.
Your makeup artists, your assistants, everybody, and you want to make sure that they're getting paid. So she's not saying oh, woe is me, poor me, poor me, poor me. But that's a reason why, when people do sign up to go to work on a show and the show maybe doesn't get picked up, probably some of the main actresses are going to be okay. But the people that do all the production, the behind the scenes, they're pretty much normal people. And what was that stat we read? And I don't know how true it is, but I'm going to assume it's true because I've seen multiple people sharing it. Somebody said for one of the Marvel shows, I'm not going to mention specifically which one it was, that they wrote one of the best episodes, and that writer supposedly only got paid $400.
Yep.
That's insane.
I saw that.
Meanwhile, these
places.
CEOs just continue to fill their pockets.
They make 400% of what the average. This is not statistics just limited to Hollywood, but this is like CEO pay in general all over the country. They're making like 400% of what their lowest paid
and if like
workers
everybody
are making.
walked out, like these CEOs wouldn't have, like, they wouldn't be able to.
Like, you cannot convince me that Bob Iger is generating $24 million worth of revenue every year. You can't.
His comments were so disappointing because, like, the other Disney CEO, who will not be named, from a parks perspective, because we are Disney Parks fans, as you guys know, was annoying. So we were all excited when Iger comes back, and then what is it? You either die a hero or live long enough to see yourself become the villain. And I understand what you're saying.
He was already a villain.
But really, he should not have said that. Like, he really, like, just almost put his foot in his mouth, I guess. Like, acting like, oh, everyone's being so dramatic. And that's what I really want anybody that listens to this podcast to think about. That not everybody makes, like, a Tom Cruise paycheck, a Matt Damon
paycheck. The rumor is he's the one that also said the thing about their mortgages.
Oh, fun.
So he's really not looking great. Which
that's the rumor, but it's not confirmed.
That's the rumor. The rumor is he's the one, because now Ron Perlman's making threats about people's houses and all this fun stuff. You haven't been paying attention? Oh man, the memes have been on fire lately.
I mean, I've been paying attention, but more so just like the facts, not the rumors. But I think this is the first time
I'm on the gossip train.
The actors and the writers have gone on strike together in like ever or just a year. I think it happened before.
Believe it or not, the person who was running the Screen Actors Guild in 1960, when both the writers and the actors went on strike, Ronald Reagan.
Oh, a former actor.
Yeah. No, he was he was an actor at that point. He was in Fran Drescher's position for the Screen Actors Guild in 1960 when they went on strike. And it's just kind of ironic when you consider the politics.
Don't mess with the nanny, by the way.
When you consider the politics of the situation.
Fran Fine.
We don't want to get too deep into politics here.
You don't mess with Fran Fine.
No. I don't think it's... I don't want to get too deep into politics, but I also think it's not too political that people should earn a fair living wage for the work that they provide.
Health insurance.
For these companies that...
I mean, if you really want me to get going on health insurance, I could get political, but I won't get into that. I won't get into that.
These companies, every quarter, they say, hey, our revenue is great. We are making money hand over fist. And then you get this situation where people aren't making any money. And I don't think it's a political statement to say that revenue is being generated off the backs of those individuals, and they deserve to earn some of it.
And the creative arts, that's something that we all... One of the reasons why we have this podcast, it's escapism. It's fun. It's fun to watch TV. It's fun to be entertained. And a lot of work, not just the acting, the writing, the sets, the camera work, the makeup artists, wardrobe, just editing. There's so much work that goes into producing these things, and I don't think people realize that.
I have, as a hobby, because I don't make any money off of it.
Yeah.
As a hobby, I have multiple of the things you just named are hobbies of mine.
Yeah, and I've seen the work that you put into editing.
Particularly writing. Like I am an aspiring author. I'm not paid. I've never been paid for my work yet, but I want to be there one day. Not screen, but like by published literature. But the fact of the matter is, anybody who does that seriously, whether it's for hobby like I do or actually to get money, or you have also done
part
that
of my
thing.
Job is that I do write things, not
it's not
creative writing, but I have to write a lot for my job, and it's not easy.
It's not easy, and I
think a lot of people think anybody could do it.
Yeah,
they can't.
It takes a real strain on you mentally to be able to be creative like that. And their
creativity is required in even doing stuff like serious writing, like press releases, for
Absolutely,
example. Journalism pieces. Like, I don't want to get too much into the media, but you have to find a way. How does a headline? How is your story going to stand out? You want to make sure you get the facts. You want to deliver that stuff, but you also want to make it, that people can read it. So there is still a creativity behind it, and I think a lot of people just don't realize that. Another thing that I think people really should be taking notice of, and maybe they will in a couple years, part of what's going on is they're talking about the use of AI and using some of these actors and actresses' likenesses. So in the episode of Drama Queens that I just listened to, where they said, we don't know if we're, able to talk about a rewatch podcast right now. So we're going to support everybody. We're part of the, the SAG. So this is what we're doing. they did mention how when it was Hillary, Sophia, and Joy mentioned that when they, because at the time it was, I think it was still the WB, maybe it had turned to the CW, I can't remember, and you could get like deals for commercials, and they got a commercial, I think with like Caress or something, and they thought they were going to get paid for it, and the CW was like, no, we own Haley, Hillary's character, or excuse me,
we
Joy's character,
yeah.
Peyton and Brooke. We own those characters, so we're going to use your likeness, and you're not going to see a cent. With AI, that not only does it affect like acting, guess what, everyday folks, eventually people are going to start to use the AI stuff to come for your jobs.
Yeah,
and
sure.
While AI, I think, can be a tool in helping to people write, it doesn't have that creativity. You're taking away that. I guarantee you the shows that you like, you're not going to get some of these amazing scenes that are just so close to the human emotions that we felt on Ted Lasso. You're not going to get that. And if I'm an actress, knowing that they could like put my likeness in a movie like 70 years from now is weird. And what did you say about the extras? Explain about that.
The one of the provisions in the contract that the studios were wanting to push on the actors in particular was about background actors and how they could basically bring them in, pay them like $200, scan them once, and then use that likeness that they scanned in perpetuity.
And that just, I think it's wrong. I think it's creepy. And I think that while you're going to start to see AI come up more in a lot of different jobs in the next couple years.
Yeah.
And again, I think AI can be a tool that can help, but this is wrong. And it's just, and a lot of like streaming has changed the game. I mean, we have we have cable for Hallmark because I still don't have a good enough solution to get those Hallmark Christmas movies, but pretty much everything we watch is streaming. And like what they talked about on the Drama Queens podcast today, when they inked those deals in 2003, I mean, that was when Netflix was very new and it was the, mail, you get the disc in the mail. Like when we first got Netflix, which we were, we were far after 2003.
We were late to Netflix, really.
Yeah. And I remember we did the disc thing because, fun fact, our sweet little Winston, who we miss very much, that was our first little doggy, one time tore up one of those Netflix envelopes. And we had to get a regular envelope right on the thing. Like, it's like my dog ate my homework. Our dog tore this envelope. I'm pretty sure I had to call Netflix and explain the situation because I was afraid that it wouldn't be received properly or we would get charged. But the person who I remember talking to was like, oh yeah, it happens all the time. But such a fun little ditty. Some of the shows that, that we watch too, we do watch some reality TV and we are excited. And I know you're excited too. You are excited. You do like it. We like Dancing with the Stars.
Okay, fine.
It's a fun show.
I thought you were going to say the old people Bachelor.
No, we can talk about that later. But one of my questions was, can the, I think it's SAG, what is it? I don't know what the AFTRA stands for.
I'm not familiar with that one.
Something is like, can these members do reality shows or game shows? And because I was like, how's this going to affect Dancing with the Stars? The answer is yes. The union has helpfully put out a document listing all the things that these performers can still do, including appearing on reality shows and game shows. They can also do commercials, video work, and talk shows. So reality shows, like I said, that's covered in that. However, I don't know if you're going to get, if this thing continues, some of it, there's optics involved. I can't say her name. Is it Mayim? I call her Blossom. What was her name on The Big Bang Theory? Why is it?
I don't recall.
Her name is completely slipping
Amy.
my brain.
Amy.
Wasn't
it Amy?
Amy. Yeah. Amy Farrah Fowler. That's what it was. And she stepped away from her job co-hosting Jeopardy. And the little article that I'm reading, it says it's all about optics. One possibility, again, is that celeb-focused reality shows will enlist more actors, musicians, and social media stars. I don't know why this says more actors, but then it says in fewer actors. I think that might have actually been a mistake in the story, which if they used AI, maybe that's why they had a mistake. You never know. But I think that, and I was talking to you earlier, if this thing isn't settled, I think, how people always joke around oh, no one's heard of these people in Dancing with the Stars. Hey, we might just be that way. It might be full of just reality TV people, retired athletes. Because if I was an actor, one, I would have probably already been, before they even went on strike, out supporting the writers because they're the people that, give me my work. but I don't think I would you want to go on with all this like going on?
Absolutely not. I'm not a scab.
And then I still, yeah, what is it? That episode of Raymond where Frank's like, I'll shoot you in the knee, scab. I don't even know you know what I'm talking about,
Yeah, I
right?
know what you're talking about.
I think he's calling like Robert a scab. I don't remember. Oh, it's when they were trying to like paint the house or something, and he was acting like the boss, and then he went on strike to paint Ray. Great show. Yep. Anyway, that was a funny scene. Everybody loves Raymond can still make me laugh to this day.
So yeah, I think, we wanted to address this in a pretty serious way today because it's a serious thing going on, and it's not just a serious thing going on limited to the entertainment industry. There's a big issue going on with UPS drivers that could be going on at the end of this month. And I just want to say, I am in pretty full support of any union that wants to strike for a better whatever it is they're asking for, wages, health care, whatever
better
it is.
Working conditions.
Working conditions. Like, is it really that difficult to get the UPS drivers some air conditioning?
People deserve, especially this summer has been just absolutely brutal. Everyone, works. You work because you need to live, but people don't deserve to work in deplorable conditions. People deserve to have a job that affords them health insurance, that affords them.
And if anybody, I'm sorry, it's political, but if anybody here disagrees, I don't think it's a crazy statement for me to suggest that maybe Bob Iger doesn't need that second yacht.
Or third.
If this takes that much a chunk out of his paycheck that he's not able to afford that third yacht, I'm not really losing any sleep over that, folks.
And another thing with some of the reality shows too, like just going back to Dancing with the Stars, for example, and I think The Masked Singer is another big one they do, which that one obviously you're concealed until it's revealed. But in Dancing with the Stars, a lot of times people go in there to promote their projects. And I'm not quite sure. I haven't read the full list of those rules. But I know, for example, like the Oppenheimer cast that had to walk out, like they can't do. I think Oppenheimer and Barbie are going to do just fine those movies without those last minute promotions. But you also want to be able to promote your project, from my understanding. So we did just want to address that. We would be considered critics. We're not actors, but we just want it to be known that we are in full support of what's going on. Obviously, we want it to come back. We want things to get resolved.
And I appreciate you bringing that up because that was something I wanted to say is that from our perspective, we're coming at these shows from a critical perspective. Yeah. We are not endorsing, nor are we promoting, nor are we paid by any of the companies that produce this stuff. We legitimately just enjoy watching television and talking about it. And so we're going to continue to do that as long as this goes. Now,
and one of the reasons why we enjoy watching television so much, good writing, good acting, we just finished an episode of Succession, and there was that scene.
Yeah, it was excellent.
And I said, wow, that the way they framed that scene, the camera work was genius. So we appreciate that. So yeah, and so that's to say, we're going to continue to talk about the shows we're watching. The longer this goes, the more likely there's a gap where there aren't new things out, but we'll find something to watch and talk about. Maybe we'll just do a rewatch of Everybody Loves Raymond.
Or Star Trek.
So we're not normally this serious on here, but we felt that did need to be addressed. So since you brought it up, I'm going to just go ahead and jump around. Okay, what were you telling me about the breaking Bachelor Nation news today?
Oh, you're the one that sent it to me. Yeah. The trailer for the old man Bachelor.
The senior Bachelor edition.
That was,
I think it's called Golden Bachelor.
Absolutely.
Cringe.
An abysmal trailer
and
for that show.
And guess what, guys? As long as these strikes continue between actors and writers, look forward for more content. The Golden Bachelor. I thought it was Jerry, but I think his name is Gary. Now, what the word on the street in my Bachelor groups is, everyone's kind of like, why is he hotter than some of the young male
How
Bachelor
old is that
contestants?
Guy?
I don't know.
He didn't even look that old.
I know.
It looked like he was in his 50s.
Yeah. Everyone was like, we wanted a wholesome, cute little old man. He really, and it's probably because a lot of us are probably getting higher in age, but I did agree. I'm like, yeah, he is kind of cuter than some of the contestants.
I don't want to out myself here, but am I 12 years away from being able to be on the Golden Bachelor?
You're not a bachelor.
Okay, well, fair enough.
What was it he keeps his thirst traps in leather-bound albums. His DMs are via envelope.
I hated everything about that trailer. It was so awful.
The thing is, Daniel, they know how cringe it is. And if you're going to be cringe, lean into it. And guess what, guys? Again, another reason, like we said,
That was
to support the strike, because you're going to get more content like this.
That was some knee-slapping boomer humor.
It really was. You know what's going to send me is when we get to see the women contestants. I don't know what the ages are, and I swear if I see like a woman that's like 40 on the Golden Bachelor, I'm just going to go cry in a room. I am not 40. I would just like to say, but I am not 40.
I didn't say you were.
I'm still several years-ish from 40, but that's going to be offensive to me. Anyway, we are going to watch that, though. You do realize that. Yes.
No.
Yes. You're curious.
I'm not at all.
Just imagine. I hope they don't do like the dodgeball and like the football group dates with old people.
That would get me to watch.
I mean, we already have one. I feel like there's always like these young people that are going in an ambulance anyway.
I would watch a bunch of 50 and 60-year-olds play dodgeball.
Maybe they'll do like shuffleboard.
I just don't want to watch them doing
water aerobics.
I just don't want to watch them all, drinking and getting sloppy and like kissing and stuff.
They're gonna kiss, but maybe it'll be cute and
sweet. But it'll be daytime because it'll be like 5 o'clock.
He really does look good though. But that's the big news. Everyone was like, okay, but why is he hotter than like some of the Bachelor men that we've been stuck with? And they're like, they all thought we were gonna get like a wholesome, like kind of like more grandpa-y.
Okay, can we talk about actual shows that we
You're
really
the one
like?
that brought the show up. I didn't even. I would just like to notice. Look at your show notes that I sent you before this.
I don't want to. I'm done. I'm blowing the show up now.
I didn't even have it in there.
I'm just gonna blow it up even harder now.
Okay. Well, what have we been watching?
Well, I'm blowing up the notes. I want to talk about Star Trek.
What? No. We're not gonna. Are you kidding me?
That's just one down from where you had it.
He's going out of order. Fine, we'll let you go first with Star Trek. But I do want it to everybody knows that you brought up the Old Man Bachelor show before I did.
Okay.
I didn't even have it in the show notes.
Fine.
Star
Trek: Strange New Worlds, Season 2, Episode 5.
My favorite episode of the season.
Yeah, I was about to say, you probably have more to say about this episode than I do.
That is true, but I like to go in the order in which case you're the one that requested the show notes.
I also thought it was an excellent episode.
You're hurting my OCD.
And I thought that it was a needed break from kind of not severity, but the serious tone of the first 4 episodes. Yeah. And so it was a hijinks episode.
It's a classic Star Trek mess around.
Yep.
Spock focus.
For anybody who says that Star Trek isn't that episode wasn't Star Trek, I argue that episode was quintessential Star Trek.
I basically got to learn that the engagement ritual for what is
Vulcans.
Vulcans is the equivalent of Festivus from Seinfeld. They had the airing of the grievances.
Yeah.
I thought that was very interesting. Let's see here. I've always been team Rachel in the Ross and Rachel, where they on a break.
Oh boy, but folks, this is big. Listen up.
Yeah.
This
so on
big.
Friends, where Ross is like, we were on a break. I've always been like on Rachel's side that it was just like a break from them. It didn't mean that Ross, not even like 8 hours later needed to go sleep with that Chloe, whatever her name was from the Copy Place. Do Copy Places still exist?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. Anyway, but so Spock and what is her name? T'Pring. They decide, to cool the jets after this, to kind of take a break. And Spock and Nurse Chapel, they didn't just kiss. I'm pretty sure they hooked up. And I was like, I see Ross's side of it when it's a couple that I support.
You turned to me as soon as T'Pring said that to him, and you're like, oh, they're on a break, like Ross and Rachel.
I know.
like you were very excited about it.
So what happened to Spock in this episode? That was so funny?
Sci-fi accident at the beginning of the episode.
A mess around.
Turned Spock into a full human. Spock has always been half human, half Vulcan. His mother is human. His father is Vulcan. And this turned him fully human, which means all the emotions that he's suppressing just spill out all over the place. And he's essentially kind of like experiencing them as a teenager
Almost
would.
Like a teenager, like going through puberty. So extra, how teenagers
extra
are.
Everything. Yeah, just extra everything. And it was great. The interactions with all the crew that he had was funny. Pike's...
He's into Leon.
Yeah, like...
but not like for romance. I was like, oh, you're kind of hot.
Like, Pike's facial expressions throughout the episode were just on point, just amazing.
And Pike needed an episode to just because he's been like the one episode was heavy for him. Then he was fighting for Una. Like Pike, we got to have just funny Pike. The bacon. I mean, if you hadn't really discovered how tasty bacon was, you used to eat a pack of bacon.
Can we not talk about
years
that?
ago? And you'd be like, it's low sodium.
The
ears.
Pike's green. Like casual outfit.
Yes.
Can I have that?
I
want that. That looks really nice.
You gotta wear a shirt under it like he does. I
won't do it Kirk style. I won't do it Kirk style. Kirk had one too.
That was a good episode though.
It was a great episode.
We had the mess around with Spock. I liked when he put I want one of those beanies that he was wearing. Excuse me, toboggan. I just can't believe I just went against my own vernacular.
It's regulation.
A toboggan is a hat.
It's Starfleet regulation. Yeah. That's what he said. Everybody was joking. I
want that.
Well, then you saw the TikTok where he's done that multiple times with Leonard Nimoy, so it wasn't out of character at all for him to. In fact, you could argue this is probably the first time that he's like put one on to hide his ears. It was just funny because he was hiding his ears for a different reason.
Yeah.
Because his mom beamed aboard the ship.
Yeah.
And she's like, "What's wrong with you? Take your hat off." And he's like,
and she figured out right away. Which, by the way, I am wondering, like, if they have like special face serums on the Vulcan planets, because the woman that they cast to play Spock's mom is only like 11 years older than the actor in real life, and I was like, that's the one. She was in a Hallmark movie with Ben Savage from Boy Meets World, one of the Hanukkah themed Christmassy Hallmarky movies, and you know how we have Paul Wesley from The Vampire Diaries? She played Isabel, Elena's birth mother, on The Vampire Diaries, and that's Spock's mom.
Because you
said it a lot.
Went looking for the episode.
Yes, I did, to try to find it to show you. So
it was annoying.
It was not annoying, but Spock's mom is like hot. But then I'm like, well, so I'm like, is this how Hollywood is? That you can be like a mom of somebody that you're only 11 years older than?
I think once an actor gets to an age, like a certain, there's like this range, and it's like you're inside this range, you can be a mom or a dad, and then you get to the other end of that range, and it's like, okay, now you got to transition to grandfather or grandmother.
You know how I knew I was starting to get old? When I realized I was finally older than the actress that played Andrea Zuckerman on 90210, because they were playing like teenagers, like in their 30s.
Okay.
Fun fact.
Appreciate that
and
commentary.
They looked older too.
So halfway through Strange New World season 2.
But didn't you really like in how they had, and this is why we need a studio, you guys, because I had a lot of thoughts right after that episode I would have liked to get out. One of my favorite parts was just kind of seeing them all hang out. Like they had because they were kind of, they had a little bit of some more downtime than usual. Mm-hmm. So you got to see them hanging out, having some drinks on the ship, like especially like the girl time together. And it was just, like you said, it was a lighthearted. It was fun. It was a good episode. I feel like just my Nurse Chapel Spock shipping is just, I know it's doomed. Unless you go off that crazy canonic theory that you told me about earlier.
That's not canonical.
It's going to be like a headcanon in my brain, though.
Yeah.
But they have such good chemistry, and like it was so exciting. And then like I was like, oh, they're just going to kiss nicely again. But then they kissed at the very end. That was after he had already gotten a little potion.
They kissed, and then the doors shut in front of the camera, and you're like, oh. Yeah, we knew where that was going. So
it was my favorite episode. It even was better than the Kirk episode for me. That was kind of like in that alternate time. Like that was a good emotional episode. This one was just, it was fun. I enjoyed it. It was more of the cast together.
It's funny because I think for me that Kirk episode is my favorite, and it's just weird because the only reason you started watching this show for me is because you found out that Paul Wesley was going to be in it.
I'll watch your show with you.
Turns out now you are fully engaged with all the other characters.
And I had seen, again, like I am not like a Star Trek newbie. I had seen Next Generation, the show. I obviously had been watching Picard. But I hadn't really, like, if you're listening to this, and this is coming from me, not Daniel, by the way, oddly enough, and you're like, maybe I will give Star Trek a try, start with Strange New Worlds. Don't start with the OG series, please, because that might make you never want to watch it again. Sorry, I'm just being honest.
No, I agree.
Don't jump into Next Generation. And I've heard some people tell me, they're like, I had a friend that was like, you're making me want to watch Picard. And I'm like, oh, that's awesome. I'm like, but you're going to miss some stuff since you haven't seen Next Generation. I'm like, start with Strange New Worlds. You're not really, I mean, there's like little like niche things like that you've pointed out to me, but it's kind of fresh. You're not missing a lot. And the pacing is good. It does have that episodic format, but then each episode kind of has its own little thing. It's a good show.
It's a good show. If you're really interested in watching more Star Trek after this, just hit me up on Twitter, and I'll give you my opinion of where to go after Strange New Worlds.
Another reason to support the writers so we can get Strange New Worlds season 3. And you told me there's a rumor that we might get a musical episode.
The big rumor on Reddit lately has been that the 9th episode could be a musical.
And you know what? Any Star Trek fan that would be like, that's weird. Star Trek would never do that. Considering some of the crap you've made me watch before, and like the wild, zany, like there was that episode last season where they were trapped in like a medieval storybook. The musical would fit right in with the Star Trek mess around.
They have a lot of actors on the show that have the ability, that are singers as well.
I don't think Paul Wesley's going to be singing.
I think it's a pretty solid rumor that's going to happen.
That would be so cool. How many more episodes do we have left?
5. We're halfway through.
So we are halfway through. It's kind of a bummer.
It is.
I don't want it to go away.
It's a bigger bummer knowing that they're not currently working on the 3rd season because of all the stuff. Like there's no filming, there's no writing.
Yeah.
I think it's been confirmed for a 3rd season, but I think that's as far as it's gotten. Whereas this time last year when we were watching season 1, they were almost done filming season 2.
But yeah, Spock, Nurse Chapel, they've had great build-up. I like build-up in a romance. And, it would have been easier for her to be like, oh, just keep him human. But she's like, that's not who he is. So it was just sweet. I liked it.
It was a great episode.
I loved the airing of the grievances.
Yeah, that was really good.
Again,
it was nice when Spock stood up to T'Pring's mother for his mother.
Yeah, that was awesome. Because I feel like we kind of saw Spock sort of have a whole new respect for his mom.
Yeah. So
in this episode, what else did we? Okay, so we made the Friends reference. Festivus. Was there anything else that we thought was?
T'Pring's dad was a gem to be
Please bring
cherished.
him back.
Yeah, he needs to be back.
And I want some of that food.
Yeah, whatever food
making.
Pike was cooking, the traditional Vulcan foods.
I want some of that.
And it was really good. It was a really good stick, and it gave a little bit more insight, I think, into like the Vulcan world of like not all Vulcans are just like completely like stick up butt, sticks in the mud kind of that way. You know what I mean? Like and it's true. Like in all of Star Trek, a lot of the time the alien races that you get introduced to, you only really see like the stereotypical versions of those races. And it was nice to see Vulcans that aren't exactly.
He definitely doesn't run the show though. That's what the mama does.
No, yeah. She's a stereotypical Vulcan, and I think that was I thought that was a really fun dynamic to play with.
Apparently, humans smell.
Yeah, and humans smell. Yes, which actually that was established in Star Trek Enterprise.
Okay.
So that the Vulcans will take like smell suppressants in order to stand being around humans for long periods of time.
Wonder where we're going to go in the next episode. Another serious
I don't know, but I'm excited about it. I think we got one more episode until the crossover with Lower Decks, and I'm really excited for that episode. So,
all right, well, let's move on and go back to the order that my list should have been in and talk about Secret Invasion. If you are not watching Marvel's Secret Invasion, what are you waiting for?
Yeah, it's good.
Waiting for? I have a lot of questions, though. A lot of questions.
Ask away.
This is a spoiler podcast, but Nick Fury and his wife, I think we've established he knew she was a Skrull the whole time, right?
I believe so, yes.
But they kind of been intentionally like leaving it up in the air. Now, I don't think so. He's like, how did you get the face? Because they take a human face, and she talks about this woman that was sick in a hospital bed named Priscilla, because that's the name she takes on. Who apparently she still maintained a relationship with Priscilla's parents, and she made a promise that she's like, what do you want to experience? What it's like to fall in love? That she would never hurt Nick, which comes into play. So, and my assessment of that scene, and there's been a lot of debate, was that he never knew the actual Priscilla, and that he did know. Yeah, like, because some people, I think, could infer that as he thought she was Priscilla, then he learned she was a Skrull. And I'm like, I think he knew that. I think he just wanted to know.
Him asking her there, hey, how did you ultimately choose that face, I think is pretty well confirmation.
I made the assessment in last week's podcast that they were giving me Mr. and Mrs. Smith vibes, the Brad Pitt, Angelina Jolie movie, and they really gave me Mr. and Mrs. Smith vibes this time. They were like pulling guns on each other, but then ultimately not hurting each other, but knowing that, they're on opposite sides because she's working for the bad guys.
Yes.
And Rhodey, you want to talk about that?
Rhodey is Scrody.
Rhodey is Scrody, a Skrull.
He's a Skrull.
So how long has he been one?
We don't know because we haven't seen real Rhodey yet.
We have seen what happens when the Skrulls get hurt. Mm-hmm. So that means that if you go back into the movies, because we saw Rhodey get hurt. It was
unlikely that Rhodey was a Skrull
the entire time
in Civil War because he was badly injured in that.
Yeah. Where is the real Rhodey?
We don't know.
I hope he's not dead.
I mean, we've seen multiple times that place where the other Skrulls hang out in Russia.
Yeah.
Where they've got the people hooked up to those machines so they can read their minds.
Yeah.
And so I guess you have to assume he must be there, right? I'm assuming they're going to resolve that. They've only got 2 episodes to do it.
We only have 2 episodes left, yeah.
And at last when we left Rhodey in this episode, he was sitting in the car really not participating in that battle, but he was alive and fine, so he's still going to play a part in the next 2 episodes.
So Ben Mendelsohn's character...
I think he's dead.
I think he's dead too. That was traumatic.
Like that wasn't a fake out like they did with Gaia in the episode previous.
No.
He was shot. He continued to work and do his thing. You started to see him shifting.
Gaia took the drug.
Yeah. You started to see him shifting back and forth from Skrull to him.
Yeah.
And then he fell over and died.
And Gaia took the drug that... Yes. What's his name? Gravik. And all of them are taken to be like super Skrulls or whatever.
Yeah.
She took that, so that was how they explained how she was able to get shot and survive. We know he didn't. So now the question is, what's this going to do for Gaia? Gaia can go either way. She can be like, you killed my dad, or I feel like she could just lean totally into her anger and be like, you were supposed to protect him, Nick Fury.
I think she's going to, I know for sure she's going to want revenge on Gravik because
maybe she
Gravik might be specifically and intentionally snuck behind lines to take out Talos.
So we've got Nick Fury's driving off with
the President of the United States of America. Yeah, I don't know where they're going to go. I don't know what. I guess the cat's out of the bag on the Skrulls at this point, right? Like the president's been attacked.
And I guess they did mention. Fury. We found this out when I was reading an article. They mentioned Fury's wife in Winter Soldier. I'm gonna have to go. That's like I always claim that's my favorite Marvel movie, and I'm like, was that a throwaway line? Because I don't remember that. But in my defense, it's been several years since I've sat down and watched that, so I need to go back and watch the Winter Soldier. But yeah, I don't know. That was a really I visibly gasped and audibly screamed when Ben Mendelsohn's character, what's his name again? His character's name? Talos. When they shot him, because I think you're right. With only 2 episodes left,
I think they I didn't see the body. We definitely saw the body.
Yeah.
In fact, we got multiple minutes of him struggling. And I think
that was really sad.
Yeah. I think that's gonna. The way I think it's gonna go is that's gonna be the point for Gaia because right now she seems kind of unsure what she wants to do. She's out of Gravik's
I can see her being
orbit.
mad at Nick too.
Sure, I could see that, but that
she's definitely. I don't think she could hang out with Gravik because
I don't think that is going to drive her back to Gravik.
Yeah.
No. Unless she tries to go back in secret agent style.
Now, at the beginning of the season, we saw the guy from The Hobbit and Sherlock Holmes, who was in Marvel movies, but that was a Skrull.
Yes. So we don't know what happened to where his real body is either. No.
Because I feel like you don't bring that actor on just for 2 seconds. That maybe that'll come back. Where's Olivia Colman's character? What's she up to right now? Because they're trying to pin this all on the Russians.
So yeah,
they intentionally attacked the president to make it seem like it was that they were the Russians
so
attacking.
To try and spark war. Mm-hmm. The reinforcements that came in at the middle point of that battle were British soldiers, and I'm assuming that maybe Elizabeth Coleman's character helped provide those guys.
Coleman.
Olivia Colman. I'm sorry. Whatever. She played the Queen.
Queen Elizabeth.
Yeah.
On the ground, but yeah, go watch Secret Invasion. Another comment that Iger made that I disagree with. He's like, we've been spending too much money on Marvel and Star Wars stuff. You know, I've seen some people complain, and I get it. It's a lot of stuff to watch, but every Marvel show, and I have not watched What If, but I've heard it's good. Every Marvel show I've watched is good in its own way. Do I think that they could spread their creativity in other places and not just constantly in Marvel and Star Wars? Of course. So I can see how some people do agree with the Iger's comments, but from my perspective, I'm like, no, give me more Marvel shows, because as much as I like the movies, I mean, we do enjoy going to the movies. We talk about with you guys, but it's called We Watch TV podcast, because Daniel and I are the type of people that we have to be in the exact right mood to watch a movie, but we could bang out 7 hours of a TV show, no problem.
Yeah, for sure.
And I think all of the Marvel, I know off the top of my head, Loki would be my favorite.
Yes.
Of the Marvel shows, and that's one thing we agree on. But they've all been good in different ways.
I agree.
Anything else you want to say about Secret Invasion?
No, I'm looking forward to the last 2 episodes coming up. I think that I hope that it's going to close out and be fun. And also, I think it is going to leave us, as it's going to give us some resolution, but I think it's going to leave us on some stuff as well, because
keep us hanging on for the movies.
Yeah, there is an Avengers movie coming up in the next 5 years or so that they've tentatively titled Secret War, which I would assume is going to kind of
Oh, wow.
Yeah, which is going to kind of go, this is Secret Invasion. So
What's the next movie on deck?
Oh my gosh, you asked me too fast.
Is it the Marvels?
Yeah, it's the Marvels.
When does that come out?
I thought that
was fall?
This month. Maybe it's next month. It can't be this month at this point.
I don't think it's this. It's not going to go up against Barbieheimer.
No, absolutely not.
So since you've already jumped around my list, Daniel, you go ahead and pick. What do you want to talk about next?
Ooh, I get to pick? I
mean, you already did.
I don't know. Do you want to go on a rant about And Just Like That? Because you really wanted to earlier this week.
Let's give me a break, and then we'll get into that. You were actually talking about ranting. If anybody catch Daniel's Instagram stories, why don't you rant a little bit about the Bachelorettes?
That's the next thing on the list, everybody. So just want to point it out that she tried to let me go off on a tangent. I pick something random, and then she goes right back to the next thing on the list.
Stick to the list. So the Bachelorette airs on Mondays. We're not now. When Dancing with the Stars starts in the fall, well, hopefully, fingers crossed, we do plan to record our thoughts, at least for that piece, right after the episode airs. But since, we don't care about the Bachelorette nearly as much, and it doesn't air till like 9 p.m. on a Monday night, which is just super late, we watch it on Hulu the next day. I talked about how it was boring. I really do like the Bachelorette Charity, so I'm rooting for her. But the first couple episodes were meh. I actually liked this past episode. You missed the beginning of it, but the group date was Barbie themed, because they were promoting the Barbie movie, which I can't wait for. And that was good. And then you kind of joined in later when some of the guys, Brayden and Aaron, Aaron's the guy that had the double-sided coin.
Oh, Harvey Dent.
You had a lot of thoughts, so I'm just going to let you have the floor.
Okay, I have watched enough of this show.
More thoughts than I had.
Both Bachelor and Bachelorette.
And Bachelor in Paradise, but the two main shows.
But the two, this applies mostly to them. Okay, first of all, and I think you've told me this, and I agree, the men clearly do not watch this show.
Yeah.
As research prior to going on.
A lot of them get nominated by their friends, think, oh, that's great. I can go maybe meet a nice hot lady, but I can travel. I can, get an Instagram following, quit my job, whatever.
If you're a person, which knowing our age demographics on the podcast, they may be
ready for the Golden Bachelor.
You might be ready for the Golden Bachelor. If you're a person who's trying to go on this show, first of all, watch it a little bit. It will be really enlightening to see how it is a game.
Basically, yeah. I mean, you're competing for the heart of one woman or man.
Okay, if you're trying to go far, it's a game. And so first thing,
well, you can't treat it as a game.
Don't treat it as a game.
You need to. There are actual
you know what, Hope? If you're going to treat it as a game, don't go walking around telling everybody that's what you're doing, which is what one guy was doing. And then the next golden rule:
they have golden rules for the Golden Bachelor.
Don't be the tattletale.
Yeah.
It never works.
It might work this year, but
it never works out well.
Most of the time, unless the lead really likes you, all it does is just makes you annoying, more caught up in the drama than interested in furthering
more
your
often than not. From what I've seen. Now, it did not happen this way this past episode. So this last episode is an outlier that actually, just tosses it in my face. I think she might end up
picking this guy. But anyway, like I said, an outlier.
More often than not, the person who tattles ends up leaving that same night.
Yeah, because you either get like friend zoned or you just seem like you care more about that. Because if obviously you're into this person, you need to let the kind of the rotten apples reveal themselves.
When you get alone time,
the thorns.
When you as a contestant get alone time with the Bachelor or the Bachelorette, you need to focus on the connection with them and stop worrying about what everybody else in the place is doing. And I understand that NBC has producers behind the scenes.
ABC, honey.
ABC has producers behind the scenes stoking the fires of these guys.
Oh, yeah.
Trying to get conflict to arise.
You
have to fight against this urge.
I feel like the guys, this is one of the reasons why I actually like The Bachelorette better, because the guys just always see, like, the women argue, but different than, I think, like you said, the women have watched the show more. They're more aware.
Yeah, they know what's going on.
And typically, if you have a woman that's, like, and she's acting like the villain, it's because she's like, I'm going to get screen time a lot of the times. Like, if you think you're probably not going to win, and you want to make sure you seal your spot on Bachelor in Paradise, you want to be remembered, you might play it up a little bit. And I think that some contestants would admit to doing that. I think two of the quote-unquote villains have won in previous seasons. That's because the leads were duds. But for most of the part with the girls, I think they're more aware of the cameras. And you do see some of that tattletale stuff, but oftentimes I feel like at that point, every contestant that's ever been interviewed for the show says they can kind of have that idea around, a couple weeks in of who they're really into. But the guys, I don't even think, because I think the guy that did tattle is a front runner. I think he could win. And thankfully, she likes him enough. I think she'll keep him around. But
it'd be the first time in my time watching it that I've seen somebody, the tattler or the guy that gets tattled on. Because most of the time, the guy that gets tattled on, there's legitimate reasons for that.
I think they're going to, I think in the episode that's airing, on,
probably
we'll
right
talk
now.
About it next week. Probably right now. They were swinging at each other in the previews.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying
but
that
the guys, it's ego. It's ego for these guys. And every time I watch The Bachelorette, the guys always seem to get just almost more jealous than the women. And see, sometimes I think it is more producer driven with the women, but the guys, it's ego. Guys are way they want to be the ones in power, even though the show is The Bachelorette. And I think they can't stand rejection. They want to be the ones in, the one guy that was actually being honest about it, I think he was presenting his words differently with the guys than he was her, but he was still saying the same thing. He was like, I can't promise that I am going to be ready for an engagement in 5 weeks. Just, in my opinion, a reasonable thing to say, but he was framing it with charity completely different than he was the men. That being said, the guy that tattled, there, like you said, there was no reason for that to do that.
Well, he wasted his time and everybody else's time.
But Daniel had a lot to say in this, to the fact that I had to keep pausing it last week, and I was like, okay, I'm glad you're participating, but I'm trying to watch the episode, and you were just going off on a rant, and then you also think you still should be the host.
I absolutely could be the host.
Would you be a scab if Jesse Palmer wasn't able to host anymore?
No, I'm not going to scab for the show, but if once the strike is over, if they wanted to call me in to host a couple episodes in a guest capacity or anything like that, I could handle it.
All right. Well, let's move on. Shall we? What is they always say in The Bachelor, Bachelorette? Can I walk you out? Do you think any of the contestants from the Golden Bachelor would show up on Bachelor in Paradise?
Oh, that would be so awesome if they did that. It would be so awesome. They're not going to do that, but it would be awesome. You mean, and you're exactly right. By the way, I'm not saying all of them. One of the women that shows up for that Golden Bachelor is going to be 45 years old.
Yeah,
and it's come on.
By all the other ones. Anyway, you wanted me to rant. This is again why we need a studio, because I could have ranted a lot more after it, because now I'm starting to wear, I'm starting to be tired. And just like that.
What episode are we on here? It's season 2.
I don't even remember.
This has got to be episode 4 or 5 at this point.
We got the first 2 episodes. Now you're going to make me look it up. So
I'm not making you look it up. I'm just... if I do a supercut later, it helps me with when we speak these words out.
Are you gonna cut this out?
No, I'm just going. We're just rambling here tonight, folks.
Just rambling.
A lot of podcasts are going on break, so we're just trying to provide you guys with content and minutes to fill your empty void of your otherwise empty voids of a life.
Well, I'm trying to find it, but they make it as hard as possible.
That's what she said.
Oh gosh.
So yeah, I watched some Star Trek over the weekend.
You're really not gonna cut this out?
I was watching episode 2 of the original series, Charlie X. And I'll tell you what, the original series got some wild stuff in it. Let me tell you, there is some real wild stuff. Like any Star Trek fan who wants to sit here and tell me that
all right, I'm gonna save everybody's lives and interrupt, even though some of you guys probably don't care about the show either. That was episode 5, called Trick or Treat.
I was right. I said episode 4 or 5.
I knew we got the first 2 the same day, and then so basically, I know that you, the writers, which I am, again, I support writers, everything, but some of the creators of this show, they definitely double down. And I've said that before, where they're like, you know what? We're going to push Che on you guys even harder. I'm pretty sure they lurk on Reddit. Because, okay, if anybody's ever watched Euphoria, unhinged show, but really good, go see it. But remember, don't watch that with like children in the room.
I heard a thing about Euphoria, by the way.
You're going to interrupt me again?
Yeah. Like, I heard somebody be like, season 3 is not coming until like 2027.
Probably because of the writer's strike.
I'm like, I can't
They already, I think, had to delay it.
I can't even mathematically calculate how we're talking about the year 2027.
That's when they said Stranger Things is going to come out. Possibly even
later. Well, that's because they're filming like they're filming 10 episodes.
Those kids
they're
all
all going to be
like 40 years
every
old.
Every episode's going to be 3 hours long.
They're going to be on the Golden Bachelor by the time that's done. Anyway, Euphoria, back to it. You know, and you probably have heard this if you're on TikTok, but it comes from Euphoria. Is this effing play about us? That's basically was the And Just Like That team to us. So Che, their pilot is being reviewed, so they had a focus group thing, and there was a person, I believe, I don't know, I think we were led to believe, I can't remember if they said it or not, that was also non-binary. I'm pretty sure. Internet, please don't come for me if I'm wrong, but I think I
got that impression because she rewound it so I could watch the scene. I got that impression as well.
Because I was like, Daniel, this is everything I've been talking about in the podcast. They're just calling us out on here.
It really was. It was almost creepy.
And they were like, it's like you're trying too hard, throwing it in our faces, so cringe. And I'm like, oh my gosh, it's everything we've been saying. So then there's a scene where Miranda, as I like to call her, faux Miranda, because she's not my Miranda, is comforting Che, which, you know, obviously you want to comfort your boo, whatever. But then they're basically like, these people that watch these TV shows are idiots. They don't know anything. I'm like, oh, so that's what you think about us. So I want to say that the writers are having this like self-awareness about, because I love a good self-aware joke, and that maybe it's going to circle around and Miranda's going to realize how stupid she's been acting. Because Miranda's just lost her mind. No, but I really don't think. I think that was like an attempt to scold the viewers for not enjoying this storyline, which is insane to me, and it's awful because I love Sarah Ramirez who plays Che. I'm on Grey's Anatomy. Played Callie Torres. Awesome. I think the character of Che could have been used in better ways. It's just like they're forcing Che down our throats, and it is cringe the way it's not even just the character itself. Like, as I do feel like we've gotten to see some of Che's insecurities, and I've really tried to, you know, be open about that, but just it's the way it's Miranda. It's the whole Miranda of it all. And somebody on Reddit pointed out like how irritated Miranda would get over Steve over the most like minute things, and Miranda just lets Che do whatever. Like, Che is up all night partying, and when Miranda has to get up at 5 a.m. to go help get Brady up and get herself to her classes, like, if Steve pulled that crap, like, there's just no way. Miranda would just, like, eviscerated him. So I definitely think Che is Miranda's big. And if anybody watched the original show, like, as much as I did like Carrie and Big, like, Carrie would lose herself completely in Big, and that was one of the running like themes of the show. And it's, again, I want to stress it has absolutely nothing to do with Miranda's sexuality. And I think the writers like to like attack us for that. No, I think if you're like, one, I did really love Miranda and Steve. It broke my heart that they weren't together. But if you're willing to put realism on a show that it really lives in a fantasy world, so that's a whole other ballgame, fine. I think Miranda and Naya, the professor character that was introduced, would have actually made sense. And supposedly that's who they originally were going to go with. And Cynthia Nixon like fought for Miranda to be with Che instead. So I think that's another reason, because she has such creative input in the show, of why they're like doubling down on the Che thing. But you came up here because I was like, Daniel, isn't this exactly what I've been complaining about?
Yeah, it was
so meta.
Yeah, it was like very much, I believe, trying to address the fans, and then they cut from that to a shot of Che like being sad and crying, and I think the writers were trying to get us to be like,
don't you feel bad?
Oh, don't you feel bad? And I was like, no, I don't feel bad. Of course, I will. No. I'm not watching the show, but
you are going to watch this week.
That's what I've been told.
Aiden is finally back. Now, I do not think Aiden is going to be Carrie's endgame. But I do think they said John Corbett is going to be on for multiple episodes. I'm already mad at Miranda again, just from the preview, because Miranda's like, don't you think you're taking this thing with Aiden fast? And I'm like, woman, how dare you? Miranda has always been so judgy and picky at Carrie's life, which sometimes in the original series, like, I would agree with what Miranda was saying, but I don't think my delivery would be so rude to my friend. But at this point, Miranda has absolutely no leg to stand on with how she's been acting. Just so, whatever. But you said you are going to tune in. You're not missing. You're like, well, I'm going to be so confused. You're really not missing much. You're really not missing much.
I don't think I'll be that confused.
Yeah, you're not missing much. So that's my, and just like that, rant.
Yay.
And then I also had on my list, I still am watching Cruel Summer. That's one I don't give a lot of spoilers on. It's just I think it airs on Freeform. I watch it the next day on Hulu. I think we only have a couple episodes left. The whole mystery of like, how did Luke die?
Wait, Cruel Summer is a show that's like on TV?
Yeah, I think it's like it's on Freeform.
I didn't realize
I watch
that.
it on Hulu the next day. I think I told
you
that.
The more you know.
You would like Cruel Summer if you had started it, but
I'm good.
I'm really looking forward to see how they resolve the mystery. Once that show's over, maybe I'll give like my full review on it, because it's just hard for me to do a show that you don't really watch, and then that is a show that's so spoiler heavy. Anything I say is just
maybe if it was a horrific summer, I would have watched, but just cruel. Nah.
It's a cruel, cruel summer. I used to think it said a cool, cool summer, but it's cruel summer. Cool summer. Taylor Swift.
What are you talking about?
The song. Is it Cool Summer or Cruel? It's Cruel Summer. Taylor Swift has a song called Cruel
What
Summer.
are you talking about?
There's another song like.
Oh, so anyways, that episode of the Star Trek the original series I was watching, Charlie.
Oh my gosh.
So they find this kid. He was like abandoned on a planet, raised by wolves. Not really, but alien people. And he doesn't know how humans act, and so he ends up on the Enterprise, and he's being real weird with the women because he's a teenage boy, and it's just like the original series went places, and all these guys who are on the internet who are complaining about Strange New Worlds not being true to Star Trek have clearly not actually watched much Star Trek, because they have no idea how bizarre some of the original series. Next Gen even got bizarre. It's
all bizarre.
It was always something weird going on, some random.
It's a cruel, cruel, cruel summer, leaving me here on my own. It's a cruel, cruel summer. And then Taylor Swift also has a Cruel Summer song that's different.
As we mentioned earlier in the episode, we are also still picking our way through Succession.
Oh, you're not even going to finish up your Star Trek thought. You're not going to react to that.
No, I've just got that on filler. Anytime I need filler background stuff while you're looking stuff on your phone, I just start talking about Star Trek.
Oh, man. That means I'm going to have to do a better job with getting my background, my episode names down. Yes, Succession is getting good.
We're getting ready to watch we just finished up the 8th episode of season 1. We're getting ready
to. How many episodes are there?
Since the last time we talked about it, we watched, I think, probably from episode 5, 6, 7, and 8.
How many? Is it 9 in the season? Are we about to be done with season 1?
I don't know if it's 9 or 10. Either of those would be reasonable to me, I think.
Kindle. I saw that video. Which one? I cannot wait to hear the "I'm Just Ken" song. live in theaters this weekend. But I saw somebody did a Kendall Roy, one of the characters that I'm just Ken. Certified banger, song of the summer.
Yeah, it's picking up. Yeah,
it's picking up. It's getting good. I still find all the characters reprehensible.
Sure.
I do kind of root for. Guys, I'm probably gonna be totally wrong at the end because he's definitely. But I kind of like it that he's fighting back, even if you're like always starting to act like his dad a little bit. Good, because that Kendall Roy is just like whatever. Screw this. So I have empathy for him, even though at the end of the day, what did he say in the one episode? He's like, I let them have the day off because it's Thanksgiving, and then he's like, Rosa, I can't find so and so, and Frank, the guy, like the former COO, whatever his name is, he was like over at Kendall's house because they were trying to like make the deal go through, and he's like, I thought you gave everybody the day off. And he's like, oh, skeleton staff.
Yeah, you found out that Tom is
Mr. Darcy.
Mr. Darcy from Pride and Prejudice.
From the 2005 one with Keira Knightley. Tom, I love Tom. He's like, you can tell, I just feel like Tom's going to get more unhinged.
I really wish this was a podcast where it was appropriate for me to talk about the end of the last episode we just watched.
Please don't.
But I cannot.
We can talk about the line that made me absolutely cackle. You thought it was funny, but like, we had to pause it. I laughed so hard. It was when they were the Thanksgiving episode, which... not near attention filled episode, but nothing like the Bears Christmas episode. No. But because I guess Logan Roy like is originally from Canada, and his brother lives in rich in Canada, and like, oh, Canadians fighting, and Tom's like, only on the ice. And I just lost it.
I think it was the episode after that one where Greg had the line for me where he was like, I would like to dine at the California Pizza Kitchen.
Yeah. He finally got his paycheck, and Tom just kind of looked at him. You know what? Sometimes I remember my first time, because you're from a way more podunk area than me.
Thank you.
But even where I'm from is like that. Like, I remember being excited when I went to Columbus, or maybe it might have been at the Great, I think it was actually Myrtle Beach.
Myrtle Beach, baby.
Myrtle Beach, and they had just gotten one, and I was like pumped to go to California Pizza Kitchen. So excited. I remember being excited for that. I was really excited the first time I ever went to Chipotle. You guys just don't get it. And
she was embarrassed the first time she took me to Chipotle.
That's because you didn't know. You're like, what do I do?
Well, they just start asking me questions. I'm like, I don't know what I want.
And I was like, it's before. Like Subway, but like Mexican.
One taco, please. I don't know what to get. I didn't know what to get there.
The bowls now, the burrito bowls now.
I know. I know that. I know what I'm doing now.
And yes. You know what? You wouldn't have embarrassed if you would have just been like me. Okay. I don't understand, and I feel like people make fun of this on TikTok. I think it's something that everybody should do.
Settle in, folks. Our first 2-hour episode coming up.
I always know, even if it's a restaurant I've never been to, exactly what I'm going to order, and then I have a plan B if it's not on the menu. It's not hard. One of the reasons why I don't like to go to some new places is if you don't have your menu online and I don't know what to get, that's a hot mess. Express. Research the menu. There's no excuse for you to walk into a restaurant in 2023 and not know what to order or not know what it's about. I extensively research. Like, I'm pretty sure back, my first experience at California Pizza Kitchen, the internet worked. I mean, we're not that old people that I was able to research like what they had. But yeah, you and I were like, that line was funny for us because I remember being excited for that. I remember being excited for my first time I went to the Cheesecake Factory. Like, I always see all these memes of like girls in like the 2010s dressing up to go to the Cheesecake Factory. That's what we did. I remember getting dressed up and going to the Cheesecake Factory with my friends. I went there on my bachelorette party for lunch.
We're fancy here.
We are fancy.
We're nothing but class in this family.
Very true. And is there anything else that you want to talk about?
I think at this point in time, I have thoughts on jury duty that I want to talk about, but let's save those till next week.
As in the show jury duty.
The show jury duty, yeah.
Which I had no idea that this was.
I just want to put it. We didn't watch it per se, but we have thoughts on it, and we'll share them next week.
We'll have to save that for the sake of time.
Next week, or even the week after, because I don't know. Next week is Barbieheimer.
Yes.
We're going to go see Barbie on Friday, and we're going to see Oppenheimer on Saturday.
Come on, Barbie, let's go party. Are you going to dress up, Daniel?
sure, I'm going to put a suit and a tie on and wear a fedora.
You should be Mermaid Ken.
What?
You should dress as Mermaid Ken.
I'm
just Ken.
I'm sorry. I'm trying to process a huge amount of insane information right now. There's a Mermaid Ken?
Yes.
Why?
I'm pretty sure John Cena is going to play Mermaid Ken in the movie, I think. I read that. I don't think it's a joke. I wouldn't, but I feel like...
Anyways, okay.
But we will have that for you guys next weekend. Our thoughts on
Tuesday,
Barbieheimer.
next week's episode, we are going to be talking about Oppenheimer and Barbie and our thoughts about both of them. And whatever
we're going to be
else,
totally open to both of them.
Whatever else we may, if we go on forever, we'll probably just toss everything we've been watching into the next episode after that. So just be prepared. We don't know what we're getting into.
I mean, I still don't know anything what the Barbie movie's about, and I'm excited. Like, I had no idea that Ryan Gosling was going to drop a banger of a song. And I'm just kidding. I'm like, am I going to get more songs? What?
I'm just going out on a limb. If a movie has one song, there's likely more than one.
Wow, I love it.
So, yeah.
On that note.
Hey, thanks for listening. Support your writers and your actors who are on strike if you can. I don't know how you could, but just be cool about it.
Unless you want to watch more The Golden Bachelor's coming up on your feed.
And no one wants that. No one wants that. So
have a good week, everyone. Thanks for listening to this episode of We Watch TV, a podcast about the TV shows we watch. You can find more from Hope and Daniel on Instagram at We Watch TV Podcast. Drop us a line if you like the show, have a question, or a recommendation. You can find Hope on Twitter at Lil Runner and Daniel on Twitter at The Real Hobo Dan. Music for today's podcast was provided by Your Tunes from Pixabay. Artwork was created using the AI program Midjourney with prompts written by Daniel.